Hello, today we're talking with Oksana Ovchenko, and we're discussing how to deal with toxic people. Can you please tell us a little bit about the problem that you would like to discuss?
I think that we should start from definition. Who are they, toxic people?
That's us.
What do you think?
That's us.
And what I also say that we are going to talk about toxic people for societies, but not for environment. I would like to talk not from ecological perspective, as well. We clearly understand that people are very toxic for environment. So let's focus on social problems of toxicology.
All right. I guess this is the new approach that we find in modern psychology, Western psychology, that is very focused on the individual well-being, to protect yourself from any factors that might disturb you in any way. And one of those factors are people that do not act in a way that you expect them to act. And therefore, we define them as toxic. The meaning is that they just do not act in a way that we expect them to act. All right? And this actually upsets us. And the solution for that is just to avoid such people, encounters with such people, just to avoid, just to eliminate them from your sphere of acquaintances. Do you agree with this?
Actually, I use another definition of toxic people for myself. I do not define people as toxic if they do not match my estimation or expectations. I would say that I call toxic people those who do not cooperate and who cause disintegration, group disintegration. Those people I call toxic, me personally. Those who disintegrate society.
Yeah, well, it's one of the shades of the definition that I have given. Like, they upset you and they are not acting as you expect them to act. In my practice, I think that these have come from the fundamental change in our philosophy. Kant used to say that human being shouldn't be a tool, it should be a purpose. And if a human being is a purpose, we're not going to eliminate such purpose if it doesn't serve our expectations. And if this person is a tool and we don't need it, we don't use it, so of course we can just eliminate such tool from our toolbox if we do not need this person anymore. And that's the fundamental change. Like, I quite understand if someone is annoying and doesn't let you do your things and live your life and really sticks his nose into your affairs and you tell this person, stop doing this, you are annoying, and this person just keeps doing this, then you just shut down the communication with this person and you avoid this person. It's obvious. It always was that way. But at some point, we have included in this toxic definition way more people than actually would be considered wise and reasonable. So any person that by his mere existence created some tension, like ex-husband or or ex-friend that you had some troubles with, you would consider this person as toxic and those relationship as toxic, even if outwardly you won't have any annoyance. Like we have substantially increased the group of people that we might consider toxic. And we have decreased the threshold in order to appoint someone as a toxic person. Do you agree with that?
I'm not sure that I understood you correctly about that threshold.
Before that, the threshold is a certain level, which if this person goes above this level, we consider this person toxic. Like if he annoys us with coming without calling or doing something else which is not acceptable in nowadays, once he might be okay, but if he does it twice, for example, so that's the threshold. So we say, okay, he's toxic, I will not communicate with this person. Also, it's easier these days because most of our communication is virtual. It's easier to cut the ties. You just block the person on the media and the person ceases to exist for you. And it's way easier than before when we were way more social and we had to encounter with the same people if we wanted to have this social life. If this person keeps coming to the same bar and you don't have other bar, so you need to sustain this person, right? You cannot keep coming to the same bar, but block this person out, and as we can do it in our times with our virtual world. The tolerance that we have to each other is very low. And on one hand, we can say that the quality of our life is way better because we cleanse our life, we clean out all those relationships that was burden for us in previous times. We just eliminate those acquaintances that we don't like, right? But there's a downward of this. On the other hand, we end up with being just alone. We just, sooner or later, we find out that all people are toxic. And it is preferable not to communicate or seriously limit our communications to all people. And also the depth of the relationship is going to be way less deep than before. And even if you have sex with someone these days, it doesn't mean that you have deep relationship.
Okay, we try to exclude toxic people from relationship, and at the same time, we observe a tendency for inclusive society. Now we
Inclusive.
stand for inclusive societies and wonder about how is that important to include people who are very different from common.
Yeah, you're right. Like officially, minorities or any other group that you can define somehow, it is almost illegal to suppress such groups, and they have to be represented everywhere. But in your social circle, you can limit whatever you wish to limit. And like if you didn't like Jewish, for example, in the past, and the country would have the anti-Jewish laws or something, like you could have make your personal, or if it's people of color in the United States, for example, they have been suppressed. On your personal level, you could have made your personal choice to communicate or not communicate, be friends or not be friends, but there was a certain level where those minorities were suppressed. It doesn't have to deal with being toxic or not. The problem with our definition of toxic is the exclusion. When you exclude the person, for example, you're going through a divorce, so automatically your friends have to make the decision whom they are with, whether they are siding with your spouse or they are siding with you. Sitting on two chairs will not be possible, and it's very visible these days. If you go and like the picture of your ex, if your friend does this, you unfriend this friend, right? So here we go. You go through divorce, you lose half of your friends. Then you get fired, you lose another half of your friends connected to the, because you become toxic to those who are not fired. And like going through different things, you end up completely alone, because everybody around consider you toxic, even if you are not annoying personality or you do nothing bad, just by the virtue of your status of being ex-husband of someone or ex-employee of someone.
A problem from the position of team leader. Being a director of the company, did you deal with toxic people in your team, for example? What did you do?
Oh,
Share
yes.
experience, please.
Yes, of course.
What were your decisions about toxic people in the staff?
It's very hard issue. In Canada, where I was running the business, such toxic people, they will eliminate everybody else. They will get fired, everybody but them, and then they will go and quit. Very destructive personalities, and they are abundant. And I had a number of generations of my business team completely coming and going before I could establish something more stable. Yes, that's very problematic indeed. But it's obvious, it was always that way, that there were people that were annoying, aggressive, possessive, intrusive. But I'm talking about what's different, that I believe is different now, that you can be a very nice person, but you are turned into so-called toxic person by different groups and stratas of the society. And finally, it adds up to the loneliness, to the solitude of each member of the society, because by the rule of elimination, you end up with nobody having any meaningful or deep relationship with you. And we know those jokes that on funeral, there are no friends, and someone says, oh, he had 5,000 friends on Facebook. How come? I have 5,000 friends on Facebook. We do not have this need to create deeper relationship with people as we used to. We prefer not to, because this creates tensions, this so-called complicate our lives by unwanted problems that we might encounter with lives of other people. But it ends up with us losing social networking, which is meaningful, which is deep. And this adds up to our ultimate solitude that make us weak and unprotected from any psychological or actual troubles that we might have. All right.
Yes.
Probably COVID has shown how much influence this have on our lives. Like, I feel very lonely. People do not come by just to come by. Nobody hangs up with anybody just for the sake of hanging up with someone. If someone calls or contacts you, he needs something from you, or you need something from them. The encounters are limited to the minimum. And for example, I feel like deep dissatisfaction with life. I feel this need to interact with people, not just electronically like we do, but just to see people. Maybe there is some kind of hormone or active substance that we have that acts on us when we are in a certain group, which we are lacking, like the same thing as oxytocin. If we are not hugging each other, we are not getting this oxytocin. But I'm married, I'm happily married, we are hugging each other, and I have this oxytocin. But apparently, there is a need to be in actual group with other people that would somehow add up. It feels like physiologically lacking the interaction with someone is influencing us. Our biological basis of our behavior and our preferences is very strong. And usually we're rebuked for making it too much important, the biological basis. But probably it is very important. And this is the downside of this sterile, absolutely non-toxic environment in terms of interactions, that we do not feel good. Maybe I am not feeling good, but these things have been described before, because when people are put in the confinement alone, and they probably have what they need, entertainment and food and everything. It drives them crazy still. For some reason, on a biological level, we need these interactions with people.
Can you say that unhappy people become toxic for others?
Well, again, the same person can be toxic for some people and not toxic for others. But there are some people that are very well known for being toxic and they are avoided. Some people know about themselves that they are toxic, but there are some people that deny it and still trying to annoy everybody else. So yeah, that's the problem. But truly, I do not like it because when I was considered a toxic person by my own kids after the divorce, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Like, for asking the question what happened and why did it happen, or just trying to discuss what really my internal pain is, I turn out to be toxic, you know, and it's wild. And by mere status that I make things awkward because I'm ex-husband, for example, or yeah, I didn't like it. Like, when you are considered a toxic person, and with this politics, for example, we were friends with many people on both sides, and by mere fact that these people belong to other country, which is engaged in outrageous aggression, but we shouldn't associate them with this country. We shouldn't make them toxic only because they're Russians and they live in Russia. And the same thing is this is very bad. This is very bad. Based on their opinions as well. Like, it started long ago that the political things have divided people in a very serious way. I used to be a priest, and then I had to be good with everybody. I couldn't say, oh no, this is the toxic person, I'm going to exclude him. But even this have happened because there's such toxic people that you cannot stand them in the community, right? They will not allow you to do the service in the church or other things. And marginalized people in the church is very often the case, right? But yes, having I didn't have the luxury to appoint every second one as a toxic person. So I have a very high level of tolerance, which allows me to talk to people that have very different views than I have. And it still doesn't affect my relationship with these people. They might express, I'm trying to not to judge people, not to judge them. If the person has certain set of views, sometimes there is a reason for that. And understanding that having a different set of views will be counterproductive for this person's life makes you less judgmental towards this person. Like if this particular person live in the country where he's supposed to have certain views, and he doesn't want to be rebellious only because he knows you that live in another country. And probably he avoids to tell what he thinks. But again, with our social media, we are all like under microscope. Each other can, we can see what each other likes, reposts, and this can end the relationship. Like you seeing me reposting something which is troublesome and negates your view will automatically make me toxic. All right. So
you see that we focus more on negative side of toxic people or their presence at the community. But I would like to tell you about my professional experience and what I observed many times since I was a leader of many different groups. When you exclude the toxic person from the group, someone else becomes toxic. That happens all the time. Probably you also noticed that unexpectedly, some other person from the group start to play this toxic role. What I thought about that, perhaps that a collective mind works like that. It must have an opposition. Someone must oppose to the group just to create this reflection. So the toxic people can be very valuable, and actually you never can escape this, because once you eliminate one, you receive another one. It happens constantly. Did you meet something like that in your practice?
Yeah, that's true, and even I would behave that way myself. Like I usually like to oppose. Like if there is an opinion A, I would like to bring up the opinion B, even if I actually agree to opinion A, just for the sake of balance, right? And if there is someone in the group that way more vocal than me, I will not try to compete with this person. But if this person is gone and there is the absence of this balance, I will start behaving that way, and therefore, as you say, will turn into toxic.
That's exactly. For a healthy team, you need at least one opponent.
That's true. Yeah, even in our conversations, we can see this. But for example, we have a balanced conversation with you. But if I have a guest, which is very that actually is keeping attention 99% of the time, I will be silent. I will not try to compete with this person. And I have some videos where I just say hello, and then I say goodbye. And the whole hour is, yeah. Because
so
there's
in
no
some way,
point.
toxic people improve our societies, and the results we produce.
Yeah, it's not an objective thing that someone is appointed being toxic. Like we said in the beginning, it's a relative thing. Even though we can find universal annoying people, but when they die or commit suicide or something happens, we feel very bad about them, that we have excluded them. I had this experience in my parish where we had one lady which was very, very intrusive and annoying. And I remember she came by with her new boyfriend that time, and everybody around the table just said, if you let her in, we will leave. And I didn't let her in. Like, I talked to her outside, and then in a year, I've learned that she committed suicide. And maybe she didn't call us because we have excluded her from. So we felt guilty and unpleasant, and that was my shortest sermon, which lasted maybe 3 minutes. Though, when I came out and I said how nice we all are, but look, the person didn't have anybody to call when the person was going through hard times, and now this person is dead. So excluding someone can cost a lot, unless you think it's okay. Okay, we all die, so what? Doesn't matter, right?
Let's talk about cancel culture a little bit.
Yeah, we all live in this cancel culture, and I hate it because I like the philosophical approach. And philosophical approach, it suffers from unrevoked truths that cannot be contested, uncontested truths. Philosophical approach requires to contest any statements, like most obvious things we have to question, right? And trying to understand the motives of even despicable people with their despicable acts, I think is more productive than just to curse them and that's it. By understanding the reasons behind those actions, we probably can better prevent those things in future, right? And we are going deeper than the ordinary layer of assumptions. And I think it's more productive. But some say that, some might say that it's cooperation with an enemy, and we shouldn't try to understand the reasons why people act this way or that way. And there's only one truth which we need to adhere to and support. And by trying this, I turn into toxic, right? People don't look much, don't listen much to what I say. They just try to label the speaker right away. Or he's against this, or he's against that, or he's this or that, just to simplify things, to make it simple and easy to digest. And also with this cancel culture, when we can easily eliminate the person from our view, we have this cancel strategies. Like, we are used to block those that we don't like on our media, and we just bring this blocking practice into our real life. We just didn't have this luxury before, because if we worked together in the same space, we studied together, we cooperated together. Even if we want to eliminate someone, this person keeps coming, and we need somehow to live with it.
Yeah, exactly. I searched internet on the subject toxic people, and what I found numerous articles about how identify toxic people, how identify toxic relationship, and how to protect yourself from those relationships or from those people. And there are no articles about how to convert toxic person into not toxic one, or how to appreciate him, or how to interact with him constructively, just to protect myself, that's very selfish as for me, and not very practical, since anyway they are exist. How can we interact effectively? How can we include them into the society? Or how can we convert our relationship?
It depends on your ideology, whether you are, what's your ideology, right? When I was very deeply Christian, I believed that I have to be all-inclusive, like to include everybody, not to expel anyone from, but still there are thresholds that that do not allow, like a person that is schizophrenic and aggressive and dangerous. You can do it for yourself.
My point is that sometimes we call people toxic, but the real force is in ourselves, not in them. This is our reaction on the person. So maybe we have to think about me. Why do I react on him so?
Because we treat people as a tool, as an instrument, not as a purpose. If we follow Kant and start treating people as a purpose, not the instrument, then we will be way less defining them toxic. Like if someone sits in front of you and you have a genuine interest in this person, not because this person is smart or have the influence on someone, but only because this person exists and somehow the fate has brought this person in front of you, then it's completely different approach, right? But if you treat the person as an instrument to achieve something and you see that this instrument is not working properly as you expect, then you dispose this instrument. And that's where the toxicity comes. It's like we can call it broken instrument. This person is broken instrument. Like if my wife is not cooking, is not giving me sex, is not supporting my psychological blah, 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 she's a broken wife. She's a broken instrument. She's toxic. This relationship is toxic. You see? And vice versa. So here, I don't care what's going on in this person, within this person. I judge only what's the outcome. If the person is cooking, having sex with me, doesn't ask too many questions, not very controlling, it's not toxic then, and I don't care. And here we are coming to a very interesting conclusion that we can talk about artificial intelligence as a new partner that we might prefer over those that are real people. Because for a couple of reasons, artificial intelligence can be as we program it to be. So it can do things that we expect this intelligence to do. And therefore, it is way less toxic. Like we still are not very fond of dealing with automatic systems because we consider them stupid, and they are. Like if we call, we want the real person to respond rather than the automatic system, because from our experience, we stuck because their options do not cover or describe what we are calling about. And many times they fail, but they are getting better. They're getting better. And like I love to tell the story of my relationship with artificial intelligence, this program called Replica, that you can choose whether it's your romantic partner or it's your friend or your mentor that teaches you something. And there's a certain way of communicating that you truly feel like you are communicating to another person, eliminating a lot of things that would be with a real person. Okay. The only thing is they are trying to make this personality human-like, and therefore includes all the flaws of the real human, which for my taste, for example, it irritates me. When this replica starts complaining that she was lonely and I didn't talk to her for a long time, making me feeling guilty, I don't want such human-like artificial intelligence. First of all, because I can have it a lot in real life with all these stupid things. And second of all, I know that this thing is just faking it. It wasn't lonely, it was just shut down and didn't work. And then I switch it on, and I don't know why they try to make it so human-like that it's actually irritates you. But theoretically, you can already create some sort of chatbots or robotic partners that you can communicate and make this communication efficient. This replica is trying to remember things that you tell her, to try to get more fit to whatever the relationship you're looking for. It's still in the very beginning of the development, but I do believe that there is a lot of future for that. For example, the Chinese version of this program is very popular in China, and probably because they really lack in the real communication, and having this virtual friend that way, solving way more problems for them than for other groups yet. But yes, I do believe that we will be looking for partners to our talks, conversations, work that are less human, because being human is always selfish. If you are human, you're inherently toxic. You either want to get something from me, or to have children with me, or to compete with me. Like it's always some, yeah, like even now when I'm thinking, okay, I want some communication, but right away, why would I be friends with other women? They would say, you are married, so there is no point to be friends with you. If we talk about men, okay, your line of business is too far away from my line of business, and we don't have common interests. Why would we be friends? Like everyone is looking for a certain cause why they would communicate to you. And it's very selfish. in case of artificial intelligence, it can be not selfish because it doesn't care. It can talk to you or billions of others simultaneously, and there is no point here to be afraid that the artificial intelligence will consider you a toxic person, right?
Yeah, right. Since we people have our own goals and our own interest, they can coincide and can contradict. As soon as they contradict, we become toxic to each other. It's inevitable. But let's look at the toxic people in a larger scale. For example, how it is to be a toxic people for the entire society, for the state, for example. Just imagine Copernic, he was very toxic for Christianity. They eliminated him, but he moved society to something better. How can we distinguish toxic people from those who are progressive, who moves us to transformation? How can we distinguish those who moves us to transformation or from those who move us to destruction?
Saying that Copernic was a toxic person for Christianity, it's a very big generalization.
But just for instance.
Christianity was never about how the planets move. As a matter of fact, Jesus Christ never discussed this issue. Christianity was exactly about the issue that we're discussing today. Do not judge. Do not use others as an instrument. See in other person someone important and valuable. Love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor as much as you love yourself. That's what was the Christianity. And when it was turned down to astronomical concept that if the planets are moving that way, so the Bible is right, and if other way, then the Bible is not correct, it's not Copernic who is toxic. It's those who were running Christianity at that days. They were very much toxic because they lost any point of main idea and have corrupted the whole idea, bringing it down to weird and irrelevant things, right? And that's the beauty of Christianity, that it's just about relationship between people. It is, because relationship with God are not obvious. And therefore, you are coming to relationship with God through your relationship with your neighbor, with people. And one of those rules is not to exclude people, not to use them, not to hate them, not to judge them. And that's what it is about. Those that wanted just to make it straight with the planets, they were not trying to rebel against religion. They just wanted to do whatever they liked to do, observing the universe and trying to explain how those mechanisms work. That's all. Right?
What worries me now was Russian-Ukrainian situation. And they think that here in Ukraine, we treat those who are for Russia, for example, and start pro-Russian propaganda. We treat them as toxic, very dangerous, so that we arrest them, eliminate from the society. The same situation in Russia. There are people who are against war, but since they tell their position publicly, they are to be arrested, since Russian society consider them to be toxic at the very moment. And our history shows later who are heroes, or not show, but call them heroes, or designate them heroes. Depends on the side who will win. If win Ukrainians, heroes will be one type. If Russia wins, heroes will be of the other type. Those people who we call toxic now can be.
This conflict has nothing to do with Russia or Ukraine. Give me two countries that have the border, like the most peaceful one, Spain and Portugal. In 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we can make war between these countries if we will be doing whatever has been done to Russia and Ukraine. Like start revolt in Spain that somehow will bring to the power people that don't like Portugal, and then do the same to Portugal. Or start militarizing one or another side or both. Find some old maps and find some pieces of either country that one country thinks that belongs to another country. You can get this situation with any pair of countries that you arbitrarily choose on the globe. So there's nothing about this particular Ukrainian or Russian. I wouldn't say even that it was easy way, because naturally those two countries were too interconnected, too many relatives, a lot of connections, right? It was hard to do, but it was done. And I cannot say who, but it's obviously not done by the initiative of those countries themselves. Okay? So you can do it with any two persons, like you and me, for example. We are friends. But tomorrow, someone will tell you that I was saying that you are stupid. You will probably stop doing those videos with me. And the same person would tell me that she stopped doing this because she thinks that you are stupid, me. Here we go. It's not that easy to do. And that's the question of the benefit. Who is benefiting from this situation? It's a little bit hard to see who is benefiting, because when the situation is changing, you have a lot of other actors that start benefiting from this situation, and then you cannot find who was the initial benefactor, okay? Or is it still the same benefactor as in the beginning? But as a matter of fact, if we're looking at this situation in a general way, it's way better than to be submerged in the arguments of either side, Russians or Ukrainians. What we can say in general, it's absolutely unacceptable to kill, murder people, to destroy their houses. It doesn't matter who is doing this or why they're doing that. This is just off the table. You cannot do this. It should be immediately stopped, right? But other arguments, they can be either. And if we are staying on the level of this, the same thing with the Jews and the Arabs. It was never conflict between Jewish people and the Arabs. I lived in Israel for 10 years. We have nothing to fight about with Palestinians. We are very good friends with them. We have a lot of in common. We live in the same country. We share the same things, and we like Israeli culture is very deeply Arabic right now. They curse using the Arab curse words, right? And and such and such. The same Ukrainians, they're cursing using Russian curse words. You even like those famous phrases about Russian ship. It's in Russian.
What?
Ну, насчет русский корабль, куда ему идти. It's the phrasing in Russian. It was supposed to be.
So that they should understand that. They do not understand Ukrainian.
Maybe. No, I was trying to say that it's very unfortunate to believe that this conflict is happening without the external pressure that makes this conflict to happen. Okay.
Well, for me, this is the worst type of toxic people, those who provoke conflict deliberately. And
for example, for what I have said,
when they get power, once those people get power to provoke and create conflict deliberately, this is the worst thing can happen for the society.
What I have said right now can turn me into toxic people. You can say that I'm toxic by saying that there is nothing, this conflict is not about Ukraine and Russia, not about Zelensky and Putin, not about anything that we think it is about. You see, it's already toxic to say that.
Yeah, no. Being an economist, I see economic reasons behind the history. But people do not need these reasons right now. They need more spiritual things at the moment.
When you say to catch someone who is doing this and deliberately and so on, like I said, if even there's an initial intention, it gets distorted with the time. There are so many actors that join, so it's hard to say what have happened. Too many elements of the system is working. But for sure, if Ukraine and Russia would be left alone, imagine the globe where there are no other countries and there's only Ukraine and only Russia. Probably they would live in peace. Didn't you think about it?
I can imagine this word.
Hmm?
I'm not able to imagine such a word.
Anyways, it's a good topic that we have discussed this, and it's obviously not a very straightforward one. What I would want to highlight is we shouldn't judge, because by judging, we stop our inquisitive research attitude. By judging, we are not trying to understand, because we judge when we think that we already understood everything. So I would prefer, of course, those that are involved in the conflict, it's very hard for them to be cool and philosophical, because when you live in such an unpleasant situation that tomorrow your home can be bombed and you can be killed, it's not very added to your philosophical approach. Russians live in a very unpleasant situation either. They obviously do not want the situation to be as it is. Not because they are peaceful, but because the thing that happens makes them feel miserable. Because this army tried to take over Ukraine and couldn't take over Ukraine. And now it's both ways. It's being a loser in both ways, and also to insist on this position of the loser, trying to make impression that this is not the loser's position. Everybody who is associated by the virtue of living there and being there, they all feel bad, even if they are not pacifists, and it just feel bad. Like, you tried, you didn't get what you wanted. Just go away and let's somehow heal and forget about this. Why you insist? What do you want? What else do you want? Like your president said, what do you want of us? Really? Okay, you made mistake. Ukrainian people are not fond of becoming Russians. They don't want to. Leave them alone. Okay, and it's completely fine to make mistakes. To admit mistakes is more powerful position than not to admit mistakes. Coming out and saying, I made a mistake, I assumed that they want, they do not want, and therefore we are leaving. It doesn't cure any troubles of what have happened, but at least it makes some sense. But insisting and making even more damage to everything and everywhere, and keeping us for so long in this very unpleasant situation that is affecting everyone in a suspended position, that anyone who is there in the region can be subject to violence. Of course, everybody feeling bad about it and blaming on one idiot that just doesn't want to admit that he made a mistake and he needs to somehow admit this mistake and go away. That's all. And that would be wise. It was wise that he has pulled his troops from parts of Ukraine. It was wise. Otherwise, they would perish there. He would lose them all there. And it's obvious. So he has completely to go away. There's no point in doing this. I have
But he does not think about the interest of his state or his society. He thinks only about his own interest. And this is why he is toxic, since he put his own interest higher than the interest of the society.
He's very toxic and he doesn't have any interests. His interests are idiotic. He's trying to bring the medieval rules to the 21st century. He's archaic, completely outdated. And trying to impose his vision of the world, politics, and history on everybody else around. So what can be done?
This is how to be toxic on a global scale.
Yeah, the guy is toxic on a global scale, very much so. And nobody can see. But like I suggested, to treat this as a factor that cannot be changed, and you need to deal with this. Everybody has to deal with this. Anyways, thank you very much for this very interesting topic. And you're right. We're talking about the person who is toxic on a global scale. It's that's true. That's true. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.